I'm NetMoverSitan. Welcome to this lore video on Wulpurgis Night. The fifth one, to be more precise. And this one has more firearms. On the way to the next golden bar, which is implied to have something to do with Hong Lu, we catch Dante and Faust at the end of Dante's consultation with Faust. The latter seeing it as a good place to end it, and Dante agreeing. Dante does these consultations with the damned dozen when there's a need to do so. But this is one of the regular sessions, which happens whether needed or not. They're usually inane conversations which are just a list of things to say, asking the obvious, which end up accomplishing nothing. But Dante asked if they were good there, and Faust believed so. Then she told them that their continual growth has been observed throughout the repeated consultations. No changes for the worst or problems have been found, and Dante saw this as good. Well, according to Dante, Faust was the last on the consultation list. When they were done with this, she would consult them. They saw this as valuable, as they're the only times that they ever get to voice their concerns without hesitation, along with figuring out how to resolve these concerns. Faust asked if they had any additional concerns. As Dante was listening to Faust, they were sitting across from her and cleaned up the documents laid out on their desk, while viewing the calendar. Dante was suspecting that it's happening pretty soon, asking if that's so. Faust wasn't sure what they were talking about. Dante was referring to Wulpurgis Night. They felt that it was about time that it happened again. Dante was seeing it happen too frequently, feeling like it's happening every few days, regardless of how rare it was supposed to be. They've developed a sense of when it would come. Faust had this to say about Dante finding a pattern. It's pure chance when they occur. No rules dictate their frequency. Dante was nervous, asking, "Really?" They had this feeling that it was about to happen. Faust understands that they sometimes yield exceptional results that elude logical, sensible explanations. But she sees this as a case where they're seeing patterns where there are none. And then she was interrupted by the alarm and the green flashy light show. So it's either Wulpurgis Night or they're having a party. I think we can safely eliminate the latter, as Vergilius will want to insert Gladius up their and then heat it up, if anyone attempted to do that. Dante seemed satisfied, asking what Faust was saying. Faust said that it was always a pleasant surprise to encounter such uncertainties, and Dante saw that her look said otherwise. Faust told them to head to the driver's seat. Clearly her pride needed medical attention as she stormed out of Dante's room. Sometime later, they walked through the door that appeared near the luxcavations and mirror dungeon doors. And they emerged in another location. Roger saw it as a weird place, asking if it's a prison. Gregor could tell that they were underground due to the dank air. Ishmael was wondering if they'd get to visit Lobotomy Corporation HQ again. Dante assured that it would be the next Wulpurgis Night. Ishmael asked how they knew this. Dante saw it as them taking turns to appear. They could detect the pattern, and this time they're in the book of the library. They then asked Faust about their current situation. Faust argued that the basis by which the Wulpurgis Nights occur is pure, and Heathcliff then told her to stop going off topic and get on with it. Give him a straight answer. Wulpurgis agreeing with him, as it would be efficient. Faust then told them that this event seems to take place at a point in time when the library existed. But they won't be facing abnormalities here. Not like the last time they were in a book of the library. Heathcliff wanted to know what they were up against. And Wulpurgis silenced all as she heard voices. They could be heard from a distant hallway. Faust understood that they were in a place of congregation for an emergent religious group known, well, once known as the Church of Gears. Yeah, those guys. Clearly she was aware of what they were, and this made Sinclair feel uneasy. Roger asked if they worship literal gears, or is it because they see labour as sacred values? Faust didn't know what she meant. Clearly she was referring to the Faust Network for information, correcting her by saying that they consider themselves denizens of the city, nothing more than gears. Their belief is that their misfortunes stem from the fact that their current lot in life has placed them where they didn't belong. Roger saw this as not off by much, as too many in the city have jobs that they're not fit for. Let's be honest, there are those in our universe that have jobs that they're not fit for. And I'm not talking about career politicians here. I'm talking about jobs where they actually earn a living, such as cleaning the public toilets. Yes, it wouldn't do anyone any good if the toilets were messy. Faust agreed, but the meat gears, the main worshippers of that religion, install thought gears, which are made from humans and are inserted into their own brains and... Rodia gets the point, telling her to stop now. It was disgusting to her. It was clear that they were just another bunch of crazies. She resisted the urge to vomit. Thankfully, Heathcliff asked what they're supposed to be doing there. Are they going to kill them? Faust was uncertain what the end of the scenario is, but he has a good track record of his actions leading to solutions, and this time will be no different. Yisang wanted to know what the scenario that she mentioned was, and Dante noticed this too. Faust brought her hypothesis to attention, where once the goal determined by the scenario was completed, they'd be returned to the bus's corridors, where the start and the resolution are always identical, as though it's resetting from cycle to cycle. They're repeating the same scenario. There are other rooms in the back door that are similar, rooms that repeat certain scenarios until the objective is completed. So if her hypothesis is off, it's not off by much, even considering technological limitations. Yisang saw that they were made to reach the same conclusion, regardless of how it is reached. Don Quixote then noted that young Faust, and this makes sense for her to refer to Faust as such, as Don Quixote is a blood fiend that is over 200, and so is the oldest of all of them. She mentioned that actions during Wulpurgis Night are events from the past, but it has no memory. Well, it has no effect on the history of their own universe. Faust confirmed her suspicion. Sinclair wanted to make sure that he understood this. But if they kill those worshippers, they're not truly dying. And Urtis was annoyed by this. Sinclair was feeling uneasy about fighting one that can speak and yet wasn't aware of what was going on. Faust confirmed that they weren't truly alive, at least not compared to them. And this was a relief to him. Then a voice reached out to them, coming through their ears. Ishmael wanted to know who that was, and Gregor asked, since when did they have those things in their ears? Dante noticed the earpieces, and the voice coming from them was identified as Stefan, who spoke to them as a subcontractor, who was better at blitzes like those, making it clear what this was about when making the subcontract, telling them to do their jobs and go home, asking if it's because his office was taking 60% of the reward. Faust understood this to be their role in the scenario. Stefan knows that the Church of Gears was a nutjob factory, but told them not to let it get to them. This one was straight from Director Yujin of Shi Association South Section 2. They're there to capture the leader alive. Whoa, hang on! That's not what happened in the true history. Anyway, if they mess it up, that payday isn't happening. Wulpurgis asked what their leader looks like. Stefan can't believe that they've not read the documents that they've sent them before they sent them in there. They infiltrated the base without even reading the intel, asking someone, like the rest of his office, if they're veterans that are really that good. Wulpurgis told them that they're not wrong. And considering her Zayn Egio image, she is indeed a smoke war veteran, like Gregor is. Stefan told them that they'll not be able to miss the leader. Veiled face, huge gears in the head. The Salt saw this as enough intel to identify the targets, and this was satisfactory to Dante as they proceeded to do what Heathcliff wanted to do. Smash their brains out! They then fought the gear worshippers. The nimble versions seek to gain smoke and inflict bind, slowing them down with a 50% chance of each hit of a specific attack, and with enough smoke they can clash more strongly. Evasion also gathers smoke and increases clash power and protection next turn, if enough smoke is there. But the more smoke they have, the more easily that they can be damaged. But they can damage more. The Fort Gear defensive skill enhances dodging. Or should I say a passive? But being staggered results in a loss of smoke, and as far as what they're weak to pierce. So it looks like piercing is the way to go, firearms-based or otherwise. The threatening variant is more aggressive, and this can cause paralysis with a specific attack. The aggressive variant is the elite unit of this faction. It can take more of a beating. It can cause paralysis if it hits, and can generate smoke greatly if allowed to. It blocks damage and gains smoke that way, and if enough is gathered, it can gain 2+ coin boost and 3 protection next turn, and the Fort Gear makes it block more effectively. And if it's still alive, no other enemies are generated. Gregor saw this as pretty unsettling once they dealt with the worshippers, but they didn't give them too much trouble. Rodia was struggling to keep her axe in her hand as she had to stop herself from vomiting. She was clearly not the only one, as Sinclair was speaking of brains and the blood and the chunks of flesh whenever the gears turned and crushed the... Yisang advised against speaking of displeasurable things. The others were also exhausted, but not due to physical fatigue. Dante saw a shuddering figure. Urtis identified her as the leader. Then Dante reminded Urtis that this was a capture mission. Urtis understood. She had a technique guaranteed to ensure the survival of the subject. But, it doesn't prevent defense wounds from occurring. The leader told Urtis to stay away. Urtis was intimidating to the leader. This was deliberate. Then someone intervened and saw 13 of them. Seeing those friends spent quite a fortune hiring them all. Urtis was prevented from succeeding with her technique. A flash of light occurred, and in a blink of an eye, Urtis was kicked to the side, and this figure embraced the leader in their arms. Yes, the leader asked if they were the person that their father was always talking about. They didn't seem too bothered to confirm or deny this. Don Quixote couldn't see the figure well, but she could tell that with that kind of power, it has to be that aggressive striding towards the intruder. It was fuzzy and shadowed, but they were wielding a massive scythe. They saw this as a grand welcome. Raising their scythe, there was not even a hint of battle anxiety. Then just as they were about to strike, Dante and the damned dozen were back in the corridors. Faust saw this as the end of the scenario. Urtis saw this as undignified. Don Quixote saw this as nothing to be humiliated by. While she was uncertain, as she could only see the silhouettes, she noted the strength and composure of what they were dealing with, and this was definitely a colour fixer. As in something that if they fought that one for real, they would be well and truly boned. This didn't make Urtis feel much better. Ishmael noted that recovering her memories hasn't diminished her love of fixers. Don Quixote told her to shut up. This was irrelevant. She asked Faust if a repeated visit would be to their benefit as long as Wulpurgis Night was in effect. Faust confirmed this. Don Quixote made it clear that she wanted to do this in order to identify that figure, to find out which colour fixer that one was, asking if she could approach them instead of Urtis. Faust saw no reason to deny her, although she doubted that the identity would be revealed regardless of the choices made. Don Quixote was most happy about this. Faust had much to think about. Dante asked what was on Faust's mind. She told them that if the scenario hypothesis is correct, then, the conclusion might be a hint, a threat or a warning against them, that the tale will be forced to continue regardless of what they do. They might be encountering an incident in the future where their journey will come to an untimely halt due to their failure to find a conclusion in a Wulpurgis Night event. But she can't access all of the information regarding that yet. Dante was struggling to understand what Faust was getting at. She didn't see it as important right now. If this was correct, then the conclusion is a hint. Dante's intuition might be something that brings proof of this, much as it has that day. Dante was forced to agree with this. Faust added that for now, Don Quixote's hypothesis takes priority, who told them to keep up as they entered the scenario again. Rodia was struggling to keep it in, asking if they can rest before... Dante put the more complicated thoughts aside for now. although they agreed that they should rely more on their intuitions for now. Okay, let's review the Church of Gears. They were founded by Eileen, who was traumatized to the point of insanity when Roland, the Black Stain, killed her father because he suspected that he had something to do with the pianist. The same distortion that killed Angelica, his wife, along with so many others. He had nothing to do with that, but he was experimenting with gears, which involved abducting people which were likely just innocent bystanders, and so he wasn't so innocent. And he might have done that part of the backstreets a favour as a byproduct of his murderous rampage of vengeance, if it weren't for those that didn't deserve to be killed. Being killed. Sometime after that, Eileen formed a nihilistic cult called the Church of Gears, which attracted a number of followers who were tired of life after working for 70 hours a week or more for long enough. Never mind anything else that's soul-crushing. When a prospective cult member asks to join them, they sit on the chair, all to find the purpose of that particular cog. Fort Gears join her to enhance her mental processing power. This comes at the cost of their physical body. Then there's the Meat Gears, which are the primary servants of the Church of Gears. These worshippers exist only to serve Eileen, and when necessary, to fight. The Full Stop Office is a fixer office affiliated with the Shi Association, and so specialise in assassination. What makes them stand out among these many assassination-focused fixer offices is that they use firearms. Quite expensive in both the weapons and ammo, especially as it's mostly R-Corp that have the best firearms for its rabbit team. They attempted to assassinate Eileen, the leader of the Church of Gears, and they kept missing as she was able to predict where the shots would come from, and dodge out of the way with the help of her Fort Gears. But even that wasn't enough to prevent her from It wasn't enough to prevent her from sustaining damage. And she would have been killed if it weren't for the intervention of Vergilius, the blue sicko, who gave her a choice. Come with him, or get shot, and she gladly came with him as her father spoke much about him. As for the Full Stop Office, they were given this choice: sign the invitation and enter the library, or get their inside sprayed on the floor and walls when he uses his scythe to open them up. I suspect they're probably alive and well in some random part of the city by now, considering the others that have appeared from the library, thanks to Angela releasing them all. Now, the scenario is clearly different, as the Full Stop Office, they didn't have any subcontractors involved in the Library of Verona. They were the subcontractor, hired by Director Eugen, one that cared for her subordinates, taking many blows meant for the others. She was also dealing with the corruption within Shi Association South, although there was one that didn't want this to happen. Someone that has his own interests. This individual is one that Don Quixote should have been able to identify easily, as not many colour fixers would have a great scythe as a weapon. And dress in blue. This colour fixer is one that Don Quixote strangely struggled to identify, and is of course Vergilius, the blue reverberation, or the blue sicko, as Roland would call him. Personally, I call him Rachel Joker, due to him seemingly having a mix of those two Batman villains. He's the architect of the events of Library of Ruina, at least in regards to the gathering of many powerful distortions, using others as his pawns, such as Thelma, director of She South Section 1, the drugged-up Smiling Faces Syndicate, and even Iori, the Purple Tear, the same colour fixer that defended Tomeri from Vergilius, the Red Gaze, all to take the power of the library to distort the city, all because it took his sister, while also blaming Roland for this. A few of his faction were even victims of Roland's vengeful rampage. But Argalia was too deranged to care about that. That just made them useful. Even going as far as killing unarmed squatters of the outskirts lab, where Kali the Red Mist and Garian, Arbiter of the Head, killed each other in battle, while Ayn and Benjamin survived. Thankfully, he was killed towards the end of Library of Ruina, and then he was one of the first to be brought back by Angela. Although, he was distorted at that point, and then Roland killed him for the second time, and that time he stays dead. And if Don Quixote struggled to recall him, then it's probably for the best that she didn't, as he's probably one of the most unhinged of individuals outside of the Arbiters. Finally, Don Quixote called specific sinners young, which makes sense as they know what she is and that she's much older than any of them, even though she's willingly getting into character. I suspect that there will be story-based reasons for her to take the shoes off and not hold back, but I suspect that's only when there's no other choice. Oh yes, and as for Stefan of the Full Stop office, he uses an assault rifle and relies on rapid firing, while the other two either used a combination of a knife and a pistol or sniper rifle. Stefan was nervous and cynical, and was quick to give up hope when things went badly. Which they did when Argalia was after them. Next, it's the Refraction Railway line. Until next time. Hail the rabbits!